it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a video or revive, maybe a series that I haven't done for quite some time on my channel, and that is an old-fashioned deck mod. So this is a favorite practice of mine. I really haven't had time to do a lot of it, and I just really honestly haven't prioritized it. So I have quite a pile of decks that I want to do some modifications to. And so I thought we would just revive this kind of old series of mine and jump back into the creative chaos that is deck mod. So if you're unfamiliar with what a deck modification is, it is basically taking a deck such as this one and making changes to it. Usually that includes things like cutting off borders, making it smaller, making it borderless, chopping off titles, writing new titles on it, edging it, like all manner of modifications. So basically you're taking a deck and changing it to suit your own personal needs. I've been doing this process for many years. I have many videos on my channel. I have some step-by-step tutorials on my process, as well as some videos about my thoughts on deck modification on the whole, so I'll leave links to those videos and playlists below for you. So today we're going to be modifying the Earth and Bone Oracle. Now this was an indie deck, but this is the mass market edition by Rockpool. And I was really intrigued by this Oracle deck when it was available indie, but it was quite dark. And I heard that from a lot of people, like the printing was very dark. And I just wasn't sure that I was going to be able to really work with it in the way that I wanted to, with it being that dark. So then when I saw that it came out mass market, I was like, oh, I think I'll pick it up. So here's the backs, which are quite lovely. It is shiny teal blue gilded, which actually I really don't mind this, but here's the thing. I'm not trimming it to remove the gilding. I know, usually that's my thing. I really dislike shiny gilding. I don't mind gilding, and I don't mind shiny gilding if it's done well, but I really dislike shiny gilding. I hate that sort of metal feel on my cards. I want them to feel soft and supple, so I often do trim off sort of that shiny metallic gilding, but that's really not the issue with this deck for me. The issue with this deck for me is there's so much going on the cards. For lack of a better way to put it, it's these little clip art title things that just, I don't know, they really detract from the art for me. It's too much. My eye goes to that first, and I really don't want my eye to go to the title or the keywords first. I want the artwork to be what draws my attention. And I think it's because this art is quite dark. I think it's lighter than it was in the indie edition, but it's still quite dark. And this bright white text, which is funny because I'm gonna put white text on it, but I'm gonna do it in a different way. Anyway, it's just like the first thing my eye goes to, and then there's all this border thing, and then there's this going on down here, and then we do have the borders on the side, and I feel like it really takes away from the art of the card. And the art is generally why I buy a deck. It's because I want to work with the art that's on it, and when the keywords and the sort of extra, the design elements of the deck take away from that, it makes me not want to work with the deck. So I thought this would be a fun one. It's mass market, it's readily available, it wasn't terribly expensive, so if this mod goes completely awry, I'm okay with kind of eating it as a loss. But I thought it would be really fun to just see what it would look like and how it would feel if I took it down borderless. But I do still want a keyword. So I'm going to write the keywords somewhere on the card face in my white paint pen. And I discussed this with my members when I was going through my deck collection with them. And I decided that I wasn't going to put all of these keywords down here on the title or on the card front because they're in the guidebook. So if I want them, I can get into the guidebook and see that. I'm just going to put this one single keyword on the card because I think for the most part, like they work, and it'll give me enough to go off of to tie in that, okay, so this art here is relating to the enchanter and this art here is relating to the key. I would not have got that without a title on it because the key is not the thing that draws my eye in this card. So it's interesting when we're looking at it from a divinatory perspective that this is the key, yet the key is almost hidden and obscured in this owl. And I think that's really cool. And that's one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to put a keyword on it and make it something that I could, make sure I knew what the original intention was for the card. And then, of course, I could always read with it my own way. So generally when I do a deck mod, like there's a few things that I like to do first. I like to kind of check through and make sure that there's any sort of, if there's any sort of really long titles or anything like that that I'm going to be aware of. I kind of am aware of the back. I don't really lay my cards face down a lot of the time. So I really am not that concerned with what the back ends up coming out looking like. But sometimes when you're trimming off things on the front, you are inevitably going to cut things off on the back. So if I'm looking at this and all I have is clear rulers here. That's funny. So if I'm looking at this and I'm cutting this top off, I am going to cut into the butterfly a little bit. And if I'm cutting this bottom off, I'm going to cut into the butterfly a little bit there too. So, you know, and the same, I'm going to cut a little bit of the flowers, but I think overall the art will still remain the central point of this. This central art piece will still remain the focal point at the back. But again, I'm really not that concerned with the back of the cards. It's more the fronts. I need them to work for me in a way that, you know, works with my practice. So we're going to start off here. This is not going to be a like proper how-to tutorial. I do have several of those on my channel if you are interested. For today, we're just going to kind of hang out, and it was requested that I do these kind of more in real time. Sometimes I kind of clip through what I'm doing, and sometimes I do them in more real time. Maybe we'll do a little bit of both. We'll see how long it takes. So this deck has 42 cards, so it's not like there's not that many in here, so we probably can do it fairly real time. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that I need to do is I need to, and I wish, this is one of those cases where I wish there was a title card. I really, really wish there was a title card, because I am just going to guess on how well my paint pen is going to adhere to these cards. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do. And because this is an oracle, okay, this process does not work if we're talking about tarot, because you cannot remove cards, in my opinion, from a tarot deck. It needs all 78 cards. Otherwise, the system is incomplete. But for an oracle, I can remove a card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and find the card that is either that I like the least. That sounds terrible, but you know what I mean? Like the card that I'm okay if I ruin it, then I'm okay with it like hitting the recycling bin and just not being included in the deck. Or one, I'm thinking like this one, the printing is still quite dark on that, so maybe that might be one that I'm okay with losing. I'm also kind of just looking at like keywords and the idea behind the card. I mean, I'm definitely keeping the portal card. And I'm just kind of looking to see if there's anything that I feel like doesn't, you know, necessarily, like I'm okay with losing it. That's where I'm at. Because I need almost like a test card, because this is a new process for me. This is a new paint pen. This is a new card stock that I'm going to be working on. And so I'm not sure how it's all going to go together. I'm not real fond of, I may pull this one out, because while I like the idea of prosperity, I am not real fond of wealth as a idea and a key phrase in a deck. So I'm just doing a quick, like, what card can I play with, because I might mess it up. I'm really liking the rest of these. I'm really leaning toward that prosperity card, because prosperity to me, I get it as a keyword, but I'm also seeing that word of wealth on there. I'm also just not that fond of this art. So this is going to be our tester. So that way, if I completely screw up this card, then it's just not going to be included in the deck, and that's okay. That's okay. Okay, so let's put the rest of the deck over here. So what I'm going to do, before I can trim, I need to write the keywords on the cards. Now I could absolutely like trim everything but the top first. But if I can't get a keyword on there that looks okay to me and that's going to work and stay and adhere and all that, then there's no point in me trimming the deck, because I actually don't really mind the gilding. It's not an issue if I'm removing the gilding, because I just can't deal with, you know, I can't deal with it. Okay, so my paint pen is working. So I'm just going to like, I really just want to kind of work the titles into the art somewhere. So maybe, and I got to be mindful that I'm going to be cutting off some of the sides. So I want to be mindful of that. And this is kind of a long word, but, and I am going to write them in cursive because they're just for me, and I'm trying to be careful so that I don't smear it. So this is going to be a multi-stepped process because I'm going to have to write all of these on and then really let this paint pen dry really well before I attempt to start like handling these cards and putting them through my trimmer and all of that. So we're going to do this in a couple of steps. I feel like that is just like really glaring. It's the white is like almost too much. So because we're using this as a tester card, let's try the silver. I feel like the silver, I don't know if the silver is going to be any less glaring. So we're definitely going to be getting rid of this card because I'm going to be using it completely for testing. So this one doesn't have near the tip. This is a totally different marker. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to write that finely with this marker. So we might be stuck with the white one because this one has a much, much fatter tip. Oh yeah, I don't like that at all. That's too thick. Okay, so we're going to stick with the white. And is that, it's not dry yet. Okay, so this is another thing. So I can kind of gauge how long this is going to take to dry. So I'm going to set that one aside because it's definitely a test card now and I've smeared it. So let's go ahead and just write the keywords on the rest of these. And I'm going to kind of keep this here for just like blotting, just to make sure that I'm not getting paint all over everything. I really would like to work it in more. Okay, let's try right here. I'm gonna try to like write even smaller. Should probably be doing a print, which would probably look nicer, but can I tell that that's beast? Like, watch me not be able to read my own writing. That would be funny. It kind of looks like least. So maybe I should try. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should try. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with it. That's a surefire way to screw up a card even more, is to try to fix. Like, it's better just to leave it. I can look at that card and know that that's a beast. That's cool. I can do that. Okay. Where do I want to put this one? I really don't want even my keywords to be like front and foremost. I really want them to just kind of blend in. So like maybe I'll just write it even over this skull thing. And I need to be mindful. That was a real bad idea. I can't read that. Maybe once it dries. But at least it's worked in there. Visionary. Can I tell that that's what it says? I think so. Like, I don't want to cover up like the blood moon, right? So, but I do want to work it in. This would probably have been better to do in print rather than cursive, but we're in it now. So we are in it now. Blood. I'm going to have to, I don't want to get too close to that. Blood moon. Okay. I mean, it's working for me. I could put the numbers on it. I should have checked the guidebook. Where's the guidebook? Because they are numbered. But are they in alphabetical order? No, of course they're not. Why would they be? They're in their numbered order. That's like fine. That might make it difficult. I don't get into the guidebooks that often, and there's not that many cards, so I'm not going to worry about it. But I could absolutely put the numbers on it too. But I'm not gonna. Okay, so like I don't want to go over the heart with this one. Where do I want to put it? Where do I want to put it? It's just a case of trying to find heart, a good place to put these titles or these keywords where it's not going to interfere with everything. I am going to run out of space, but that's okay. All right, how are we doing on time? This might be too much to just do in real time. See, like there's the surrender right there, and it is so small in comparison to everything else. That's really interesting from a divinatory perspective. I'm just trying to work it in there. Gonna run out of space. Okay. That's all right. That's all right. Warrior. I seem to be going down in these bottom corners, so I'm going to have to be really mindful of that when I'm trimming. Warrior. Okay. where are we going to start making piles now? Because I've got cards all over my desk. Oh, this one I can just write it right down here at the bottom. Perfect. Apprentice. Oh, it would have been nice if I would have done that in the center, but I didn't. So we're going to roll with it. We're going to do this one right here in the middle. Trinity. Okay, I tried to do that one more center. Okay, and start stacking up cards, just being mindful of where I've written on them. Sage, that's a cool one. Sage, and then shelter. Oh, this one I can just do wherever, but I'm gonna do it right here. I love how, oh, I just crossed my L. All right, let's see. Perfect. Can't wipe it off. I got paint all over my hand now though. Okay, so good to know. If I completely mess up, if you're just real quick about it, you're real quick about it. Because I totally crossed my L. I don't know why I did that, but because I was getting ready to say something and I like interrupted my own thought process and then wrote the wrong thing. So cool. Where do I want this one? It's kind of a long word. Like, where's it gonna fit that's not gonna be obnoxious? I'm gonna put it over here. Wayfarer. Okay. How are we feeling about things? How are we feeling about this? I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it's gonna come out okay. I mean, some of them are gonna look better than others, I think, but overall, I think it's gonna be great. Okay, crossed. I am running out of space. All right. Oh, I still have quite a few. Let me just finish writing all of these on here and then we'll check back in. I finished writing them all. I'm gonna give them a few minutes to dry and then we will come back and do our trimming. Okay, so I've got the keywords and they dried pretty quickly on here. I do still have a few of them that the last few that I did that I'm just kind of letting hang out over there and just dry for a few minutes more because we're gonna go ahead and start trimming these ones. I had some thoughts as I was going through here. I don't know that I particularly love all of the keywords and I'm kind of wondering, like there's a few of them that I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to know what that's going to mean when it comes up in a reading, but I do want to be able to dip into the guidebook if I want, and they are, because I didn't write numbers, they're listed, I'll need the title on the card. So because I didn't write numbers on here, I will definitely have to rely on the title on the card. So I went ahead and left it, and I guess if there's some that come up that I'm like, I'm not entirely sure what that means to me, I can just get into the guidebook. So I have like a whole process that I go through when I trim cards. Again, this isn't going to be a proper tutorial. I'll leave a link for that below for you. I'm just going to kind of verbalize my process as I go. Have a sip of my coffee as I go too, because that's always good. Because I wrote the keywords on the cards, I'm going to start with cutting the top off. When I trim a deck, one of the ways that I ensure that the deck is actually even at the end of the trim, I always say as even as humanly possible because I am human. It's not going to be perfect. But I always trim all the sides of the whole deck at once, not at one time. One card at a time, but all in one sitting so that I'm using the exact same sort of measurements for each side. That helps ensure that the cards are going to come out fairly close to the same size. And I'm just going to use my tester card here. I use my little triangle to just kind of help create a cradle so that I don't have to literally measure every single card. This is my cheat way. And that's looking good. And I totally eyeball it because it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be right for me. Because basically, modding a deck is essentially personalizing it, right? So as long as it works for me, that's really all that matters. So I'm just taping this down with some washi, making sure that my tape is not getting in the way of my card. And then it creates a little cradle and I can just slide my cards in and out and I don't have to measure every single card. It's a great little cheat way to do a mod, and I just really want to make sure that this is straight because I've only got this teeny tiny little bit of a lip that I am working with here. So I want to get my little cradle ruler here, my little triangle ruler. I call it my cradle ruler. my triangle ruler. I want to make sure it's nice and straight on here. It looks straight enough. I'm happy with it. Let's do it. Oh, I guess I could check over here. That might be cutting off like a little bit more than I want. So this is why I'm double checking. Let's see what happens if I go right here. Is that straight? Yeah. Like I don't want to cut off anything that I don't need to cut off. So I want to make sure that I'm only cutting off the title. I feel like because now I've moved it over, it's kind of hanging off the end a little bit more than I'm really comfortable with, like making sure that it's going to stay there. So I'm going to put an extra piece of washi on it just to really anchor it in there. Okay. I'm feeling like that's better. Honestly, I think I could go a little bit further. This is why we're using a test card. I said that that's not far enough, but I think maybe it is. It's always better to err on the side of caution. Like I should have started where I was and then just gradually moved it over to take off more and more if I need. That would have been the proper way to do it, but like I'm really not that picky. And as long as it works for me, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I'm not going for perfection here is where I'm at. I'm just kind of checking my, so I feel like my triangle is off, but it's not. Okay, because I'm sitting at, like, I'm not directly overhead of it. You all are, but I'm not. So sometimes it's just helpful to pick it up and double check. All right. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's try it. What do we think? Now, provided that the printing is straight, look at that. I got it right there. These are great for edging, like for test edging, so I will probably hang on to a few of those. Okay. Perfect. These cards are going to get a lot smaller too. So there's what I did to the back, which I'm fine with. I think it looks fine. They're going to get just barely poker size. So it's going to kind of become a mini oracle almost in a sense, like a pocket oracle. And I'm okay with that. I'm still feeling like this is not straight. I mean, I guess it is. It's just, it doesn't look straight to me, but alrighty. We're going to stop worrying about it. Let's just go. Away we go. And then we're just going to sit here and cut all the titles off. And by the time I get through these ones, my other ones should be really good and dry. So we'll just quickly flip through. And so far it's looking like the printing is great. It's all in the same spot. So I'm getting them all right at the edges. Sometimes with these decks, and they have these really like, well, I don't care for them on the cards because I feel like they're very distracting to the artwork. Like I feel like the art on the cards should be the most important element, and the design elements, the titles and the numbers and the borders and whatnot should support the art, not to take away from it. That's just my designer brain. That's just how I function as a designer. So that's just what I personally like to see. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people really love these very ornate titles. It's just not my jam. So I tend to get rid of them because I want to focus on the artwork. But sometimes with these really ornate title things, like you can cut them off and do some interesting things with them in terms of like using them for like little casting things or whatever. The trimming actually goes pretty quick. Takes a little bit longer with the tarot because, you know, more cards. But with an oracle deck, it usually goes pretty quick. You just kind of want to make sure that your blade gets all the way up on your trimmer. I have had people ask me, like, could I use one of those little slide paper trimmers? I have found that they do not work very well with thicker cardstocks. So like a cardstock like this, the few times that I've tried it, it tears the card. It does okay with some of the really thin cardstocks. But I use my slide paper trimmer just for paper. And then this is my card trimmer. So I only use this for trimming cards. I want to say this is my second or third one, because I also get asked that quite frequently. This is my, God, it's been so many years. It's been like 5-6 years. So I think this is my second or third trimmer. I think maybe only my second one, actually. I think it's my second trimmer in 5 years or whatever. And the only reason I replaced the other one, because you can like kind of sharpen their blades a little bit. I've tried the foil trick. So you cut foil that's supposed to sharpen their blades. Let's make sure these are all good. They are. The other thing I forgot to mention before I started trim, I always make sure the cards are all going in the right direction. Because sometimes I get into trimming and I don't pay attention as closely as I should, which is why the cradle helps. And if I don't double check that all the cards are going in the right direction from the get-go, occasionally one will get flipped around and I won't actually notice when I'm trimming, because I kind of get into a rhythm with it, and I don't really think about it. It's very relaxing, actually, trimming decks. I know a lot of people find it stressful. I find it very relaxing. I've trimmed a lot of decks though in my time. So like it does not make me nervous. I am, like, I'll be honest, this is a mass market deck. If I completely screw it up, then like I said at the beginning, like I'm okay with just like, well, I'm eating the cost of that. And that was a learning lesson. But when it comes to a mass market deck, I'm way less precious about it. I am much more careful when I trim like an expensive indie deck, which I don't do that often, but I have done. I trimmed my Pagan Other Worlds, which I love. I do believe there's a video of that on my channel. And I was very careful, paid very close attention to how I was trimming that one. But like an indie deck, like, or a mass market deck, I don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then I don't know if you can tell on camera now, but because I use this sort of cradle-y method, like they are all the same. They're all perfectly straight. Okay, so now I'm going to just real quick make sure that they are all going the same way. And then it's basically we're gonna move the cradle, and we're just gonna repeat the process through the other side. And start with my test one. It's on the bottom, just in case. Okay, so I'm trying to be like mindful of where my blade's coming down, and I'm thinking right there. So just pick up my cradle and move it. I think I can go right there. And now that my card has moved and everything, like my washi does need to move because it's in the way of my card, and it will. I have had cards get hung up on the washi, and then it like messes up the cut. Okay. I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling good about it. How did it work? Perfect. Ooh. My trimmer did not like that card, apparently. Look how small it's gonna get. It's totally gonna be a pocket oracle. I'm okay with that. I don't mind pocket oracles. I prefer them to pocket tarots. So, yeah. That's good. It's coming out. It's coming out. Yeah, you gotta watch that. Gotta watch the washi. I do tend to use my cheaper washi, like my, let's say cheapo Amazon washi, for putting my ruler down, and it doesn't stay very well a lot of the time, and I end up having to replace it, but it works. Alrighty. I mean, are we gonna stay in real time? We'll just have to see. Some of these I got really close. I was trying to be mindful when I was writing, but some of them I did get close. Also, like, I don't know if I mentioned it already, make sure your blade is all the way up and then bring it all the way down. Yeah, sounds silly, but I have made mistakes. Like, that one looks cool. I like it. Some of them look really good. Some of them I'm like, even just at first glance, I'm like, I'm not really thrilled where I wrote the word on there. This is also a really fun process to do if you just want to add your own keywords to a deck and you want to like not worry about, you know, working with the book or, you know, trying to tie it back into whatever the original interpretation was. This is a really fun process, and it really makes an oracle your own. And I think that's great. But I did want to be able to access the guidebook. So that's the reason, like I said, I kept the titles the same because I'm not putting numbers on it. And I want to be able to easily find things in the guidebook. So, ooh, got that one real close. But I've done this a lot of times too, where I just put my own keywords on there. And as I was going through, I was like, I like some of the keywords better on the card than the actual titles. But I can always pull those in when I'm actually working with the deck. Because I will still be keeping the box in the guidebook. They are going to totally flop around in the box now. That's just going to happen. And that's fine. I mean, if I stand the box up, yes, it will beat the cards up a little bit. But, like, I'm fine with my cards getting, like, a little bit beat up. I don't mind when they look like they've been used and loved. And, I mean, getting beat up in a box isn't quite the same thing. But, like, I don't mind that kind of worn out look. It's kind of why I haven't, like, re-edged a lot of decks. I've just kind of let it go. I'm sitting here, now that I'm talking about edging, I'm sitting here trying to think about what color I might want to edge it in. The blue that they chose for the shiny gilding, which I generally hate, but actually Rockpool's gilding, sometimes it's fine. Like sometimes it's a miss, but sometimes it's fine. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not in their production team, so I don't know. But at any rate, I really like the blue that they chose, but I don't know that I have that blue. And so I might just go with black. Like standard black and call it good. And edging is totally for aesthetics, in my opinion. I feel like that card slid. It didn't, but it felt like it. I have heard, like, sometimes edging does help, like, if you are... Why does it keep notching like that sometimes? Is that me not paying attention? Yeah. Okay, so that one... I'm going to use my sweatshirt, not my hand, my sweatshirt, and just wipe my blade, because it caught in a really weird way. That makes me nervous when it does that. Hopefully that was just me not pulling it down, you know, in a fluid motion. Anyway, I forget what I was saying. I think I was talking about edging. Welcome to me modding on camera, where I'm just going to babble the whole time. Okay, so we got all those off. I'll just stick those over there for the heck of it. And this is how we're looking. Ooh, see? That one flipped around. Need to make sure they are all going the same way. So it's looking really nice. And because I just totally flipped one around, I'm going to just double check that everything is still upright. We're going to just take off the little side borders now. I mean, they're fine. Like, they're fine. I could totally leave them. But then I've got gilding on two sides and not on the other two, and it looks weird. So also not, like, again, not worried about the back at all. It's fine. It is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna put that right there. I do want to make sure I get all of the edges off, or the little art that's on the edge. I'm gonna make sure I get it all off. And I think there is good. And then I'm going to pull this one right here. Across there. Is that straight? Looks like it. I mean, even if it's not totally straight, at least every card will be crooked the same way. Which I know sounds funny, but it still works. It still works. Even if you get a crooked trim, as long as every card on that side is the same kind of crooked, it works. That's why I like this method, because it doesn't necessarily need to be perfect. How was that? Oh my goodness, that was really close. It is like right on the edge. So I'm gonna have to be mindful, because if the printing is not like exact per all these cards, I'm gonna get some of this design. So let's just check a few of them in case I do need to slightly move. So far, so good. Make sure I don't need to slightly move my rulers. Yeah, okay, cool. Apparently the printing on these decks is really freaking straight, which is amazing, actually, and kind of a rarity. Usually when I'm trimming decks, that's when you really start to see the shift in printing. I think this is gonna be really cool. Completely borderless with just my little handwritten titles on it. Clearly, it's been a long time since I've done a mod with me, so I'm just like jibber jabber about all the mod stuff because it's been a while since I've gotten to do this process and since I've like modded a deck. And it's fun. I really enjoy it. It's like a fun, really creative process because like I'm getting to kind of reimagine this deck in a way that works for me, and it's like it's kind of like unintentional co-creation because the artist, and I think the artist and the author is the same in this deck, but the creator, the deck creator, had a vision for it and they added their vision and created the deck, and then I am now like adding my vision to that, and it's just fun. It's kind of a like a little co-creative effort there. Okay, so there's those. I am just gonna recycle those because I don't need them. Get them out of the way. Making sure everything is still lining up properly and looking nice and straight. All right, let's do our last side. Look at that cute little card. Okay, I mean, I don't really care. I don't really care for that card, but it's gonna be a cute little deck when it's done. Look at that one. I need to stop turning them around, as it really doesn't matter now because this is the last side, but let's hope that I didn't write any of these keywords really close to the, or titles really close to that one edge. All right, I have got them all trimmed. Check it out. It looks so cool. Okay. Here's what the backs ended up looking like, which I think are totally fine. I think they look beautiful, actually. Now we just need to corner around them. I mean, you could totally leave them like this, but I don't like the pokey edges. So I'm gonna go ahead and corner around it. I'm going to take a sticky note because I need to decide now if I want to, like, what size corner runner. So I'm using this Katamaro Pro, which is my go-to trimmer for absolutely everything, whether it's paper, cards, whatever. This one is specifically for card trimming, so I do not use it with paper. I make sure that I have a separate one for that. It has a small, medium, and large rounder to it, and like it works great. This is like, I've had, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 of these. I do replace them. They do get worn after a while, like the spring on the clipper gets worn, the blades get worn, and so I do replace these every so often. Maybe like once a year or so, depending on how many cards I've trimmed. If I haven't trimmed a lot, like this one I've probably had for 2 or 3 years, so it just depends on how often I want to trim the deck. I'm going to pull the sticky off of this. We're going to cut the sticky off just because I want to be able to test. And so I'm going to decide now if I want to do a small. I mean, I'll probably know, but we'll just write a small. And if you're unsure, this is a great way to just kind of take a look. So using a small one, the small size on the corner rounder generally gives it, like, it retains more of its square look. The medium is what is kind of like traditionally on a tarot, and then the large is kind of more closer to what is traditionally on an oracle. So when you have a smaller card like this, if you use the larger corner rounder, it gives it more of a rounded, softer effect. That's a great effect when I want to really soften up an oracle deck. If I want to keep it kind of square, and have less softness to it, then I will go with the small. And then if I'm kind of just like ambivalent about it and I just want to take the corners off, I'll use the medium. Generally start small, work your way up, because you can always take away more, you can't put it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just trim this one with the small first and see what I think. I think the large, because I've made these cards very small now, I think the large is going to be too big. And I think I do like the small because it really helps it retain that sort of squarish look, and I think I kind of like that. I'm just gonna sit here and now clip all of these, which I will not make you listen to. And I do kind of need to pay attention to, because there are 3 different sizes. So if I'm not mindful, I have accidentally like flipped it around, or I set it down, pick it up a different way, and then I've used the wrong size, and then I now have to reround the whole deck using that size. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and check back in. I've only got about half the deck, maybe, so not even half the deck corner rounded, because actually it's kind of starting to hurt my hand, but also hurt my back. I don't know, it's just the clipping it, I guess, is just pulling on my back. So I'm gonna take a little break from that. And while I take a break, I thought we would just go ahead and edge the cards. This is a great way to kind of break up the process too, because it can, especially if you're doing a tarot, like it can wear on your hand after a while, like clipping 4 corners per card. So I thought we would just come here and maybe do a little edging, and we'll just break up the process. So like, look how great they look though. I'm actually quite pleased with the way it came out. I'm pretty sure I can read my own writing, and I think they look great. So now I'm just like, what color do I want to do? What color do I want to do? Okay, I definitely don't want to use my journaling markers. So my edging markers are in these first 2. I do have some like sort of metallic-y ones. I mean, I do have this metallic brush pen. I mean, that's kind of cool if I wanted to get some of that teal back in there. I don't know how well that's going to work on this cardstock, but that's what these are for. So let's do a couple of these. I don't have my paper towels. I'm totally out of practice. Hold on. Okay, so this is my favorite paper towels. Yeah, you can use any paper towels for this process. What we're going to do is get any excess off that might accidentally bleed on the front or back. I absolutely love using, these are shop towels. I think my husband gets them at Costco. I don't know. I steal them out of his garage because he uses them for like shop work, right? So they're so sturdy that you can actually wash them. You know how I know that? Because he's left several of them in weird pockets that I didn't know he had in like work clothes, and I've washed several of these. They come out the wash just fine. So they're really great for edging because they're very thick and they hold up really well to the process. So those are my favorite, but you can use any paper towel really. Okay, so I'm gonna edge a couple of these. Let's see how well. Totally writing on myself, and then we'll just pull the excess off. And I usually do like a couple of them so I can kind of get an idea of what like the grouping is going to look like together, because it's kind of hard to see on just a single card. Like, you can kind of see it. You're probably not even going to be able to see it on camera. Like, I can kind of see it. It definitely has a bluish tint to it. I don't know. Let's try it. We're going to go with it because this, I should be able, if I hate it, to just put the black over the top of it. So I'm just running the marker along the edge, and then I'm using the paper towel to press on either side with the paper towel and wipe off anything that was on the front or back. And I can see that I did have some, because almost every marker, stamp, whatever, bleeds a little bit onto the front or back. It's going to wrap around just a tiny bit. I've found very few that don't. And for the people who have asked, I do not use Sharpie to edge my deck. I know that's a very popular marker for edging. It does work well. However, Sharpies give me massive migraines. The smell of a Sharpie gives me a migraine. So I don't use Sharpies for anything unless I absolutely have to. And I do not like the way a Sharpie almost always makes a micro border on the front and back, like it bleeds. And Sharpie dries instantly, so there's no way to get it off. I shouldn't say there's no way. I have heard people use like alcohol and nail polish remover, I think, to get it off. Oh, see, look, I gotta be mindful. I'm not paying attention. I just smeared that all over the front of this card. Look what I did. Okay, let's see if we can do the finger lick method. This one smeared real bad. Generally, if you catch it right from the get-go and you're using these water-based markers, like, sorry, I like literally licking my finger and wiping off the card. There's some on the back too. I don't really care if it's on the back. That doesn't really bother me. So let me go ahead and just edge this selection of cards, and then I will get back to you and we'll see what they look like. Alright, so I've finished my mod of the Earth and Bone Oracle. I've trimmed it down. I did get, as you can see, maybe it'll pick up on camera, I did get a micro bleed border on the back of all of these cards. Again, I'm really not that concerned with the back, so I didn't worry about it too much. Here's how the edging ended up turning out. Again, don't know how much of that will pick up on camera, but it definitely has kind of a shimmery blue tint to it. Not quite the beautiful teal that they had, but it's something, right? It does kind of finish the deck off nicely. I don't know how much I actually love it. I might redo it in black at some point, but for right now, it's fine. I just had to do a quick flip through of the cards. I do think they look really cool like this. I definitely like all of that excess titling and keywords and all the decorative design elements. I do really like those all being gone. I feel like the art now is really front and foremost, and that's what's really catching my attention, and that is the primary focus of the card now, and I really love it that way. So quick flip through as we finish up, and then like just for the heck of it, we'll give it a shuffle and throw it down with some tarot to see how it looks in a reading. Okay, I just grabbed this Tarot of the Sacred Kingdoms because it's Tarot of Sacred Kingdoms. I always add a the. Anyway, cause it's got the same color. It just made me think of it. Let's just give it a quick shuffle. I mean, the backs are totally different, but like the fronts have that blue line on it, and it's got a bit of a fantasy vibe to it, so I feel like that's gonna work really well. Let's do just a flip through a couple of them just so we can see. I mean, I think they are going to be really pretty in readings. I don't mind my own writing, so like so far it's working. Like I'm able to tell what is on the card, what I wrote. I can read my own writings, always a bonus. But like, look at these together. Let's do just kind of like a layered reading with it. So I'm gonna use a few of these. So we've got Warrior and Uncover and Owl. Maybe let's do 3 of those, and then we're gonna pull 3 tarot in alignment with those. So with Warrior, we've got the 8 of Cups. And with Owl, we've got the 4 of Pentacles. Beautiful. And then with Uncover, we've got the Page of Swords. And then, you know, it's going to be really fun. Just because this is the same color too, I'm going to throw these in here. I mean, I know it's not part of the deck we modded, but like, look how much nicer that looks. Now, imagine if I had done that with like all those borders and all the titles and all that decorative element on it. It just wouldn't have the same effect. I'm going to throw a couple of these little Witches Familiar Oracle cards down. This is a rune deck. So like I'm going to put one here. And I'm going to put one here. So we got Ewaz, I never know how to pronounce them, Ewaz and EDSA. Beautiful. Look at that. Oh, that's amazing. See, that's what I was hoping for with this Oracle deck, because now I feel like the art is really what is drawing my attention, and I'm not distracted by all of that other stuff. I mean, I really love an Oracle deck that has a lot of keywords on it. And if I want to tie into those keywords, they're certainly in the guidebook and I can do that. But this is more what I'm looking for, because this gives me the imagery that I want to work with. I am really happy with the way that this turned out. I think it's a beautiful deck now. I'm definitely excited to work with it. I think it works really well with this selection of decks, so definitely going to be playing with these. So there we go, another Mod With Me project, another deck trim to really work for me and my specific practice. As always, you'll find links for everything I've shown here in the description box below, along with links for my deck mod tutorials and other Mod With Me's that I have done here on my channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.